I'm Clayton and I am the wellness consultant for Brindleyplace. And today what we're going to be talking about is the impact that financial stress has on both our mental health and our physical health, and try and share some tools to help us stay calm and happy for the end of the year. It's so common for people to feel worried, anxious about finances, especially at the end of the year, and especially this year because we've had so many increases in cost of living, and now add Christmas on top of that. It's really, really difficult for people. But I think, if there's a positive that comes out of that is that we are talking about it. And I think one of the biggest problems about financial stress is that there's some sort of false stigma around how we shouldn't be talking about debt, or people feel embarrassed to talk about it. And I think now more than ever, people are really open to wanting to help and to share, their stresses and their worries, which is great because it means that you can get ideas, that you're not alone, and you can get support from your friends and family, but also from, professional advice as well. So there's lots of people out there willing to help. So the physical impacts of financial stress are huge. So they can range from things like headaches, and obviously that can come from generally being stressed, but also things like changes in our diet. So some people, when they're stressed, they say actually you eat 30% worse foods when you're stressed, and often those are filled with sugar. So that can create these kind of tension headaches, but also things like eating bad foods and also dehydration. So when we're preoccupied, we're worried about stuff, we're not kind of keeping on top of our general diet and hydration. So headaches are a really big one. That impact of what we eat, often there's a real link between financial stress and diabetes as well. So that's where we see that kind of decline, that cycle in financial stress and our physical health, and then again being less able to cope because we're unwell. So it's about really trying to get on top of that, and when we're in these periods of financial stress, making sure that actually maintaining our physical health is something that we're doing so that we can cope better, so that the two work hand in hand. And there are some other effects that happen, so things like escapism, so when we're stressed and we're worried, we just want to try and escape from it. And so when we do that, sometimes we look at maybe drinking more, substance abuse in some cases, just as a distraction. But obviously things like that have a real knock-on effect in our physical health and our mental health, and just make us less able to cope generally. Some of the other coping mechanisms, ironically, include things like retail therapy, which can get us into kind of more difficulty, or even gambling at times in the kind of hope to get out of whatever stress we're in. So it's really important to keep on top of both your mental health and your physical health during these times of financial stress, even when you feel like that might not be the priority. It probably is the thing that's going to keep you going and get you out of it eventually. So I think the first thing to do is to face facts, because the most common thing to do when we get into financial stress is to kind of bury our head in the sand, not pick up the phone, not open the letters, and just pretend that it's not happening. And so really the faster you take action, the better. And it's all about kind of feeling in control of what's going on. It's often that lack of control which creates the anxiety and that unknown. So often when we face into it, 9 times out of 10, it's not as bad as we think, because we often make it worse in our minds. But if it is, then at least you're then breaking it down and taking the steps to, make it easier and more digestible. So there's, really simple things you can do, like just getting super clear on what's coming in and what's going out, and then just making those small changes every day to help you work towards something. Especially around this time of year, like Christmas, it's really important just to get maybe a set budget for each person, that you want to get a gift for, or maybe as a family you set a budget. So it just takes the pressure off, and you know that you're in control of it, which will really help with both the mental and the physical health symptoms. So some daily wellness tips that we can all do to help us stay physically and mentally well include things like good sleep to start with. So that's a real priority, because if we haven't got good sleep, then it can be a real kind of spiral effect for everything else. So prioritising that. And then diet, like we've mentioned, so really simple, more fruit and vegetables really helps with our mood. And same with hydration, and mood's going to be a really important thing to try and keep buoyant when things are difficult. Exercising regularly, really important always, but especially when you're super stressed. So exercising helps release the stress hormone out of the body, so that's going to prevent disease, but it also releases endorphins, so it's going to make you feel more positive and have a better outlook on whatever's going on, especially in the morning. It's a really good time to do it if you can fit it in, because that will set you up for the day to deal with whatever's coming. And then, getting outside. So I always say this thing, if in doubt, get out. Right, which really helps, because being in nature can just shift perspective immediately, increase your oxygen supplies and things like that. So really simple, but actually these things make a huge difference. And part of being out in nature is about your breathing, so it changes our breathing system. Sometimes when we're stressed, most of the time we shallow breathe up into our shoulders, and that actually puts us into a fight-flight process, which means that the stress hormones are released in the body. So if we can get outside and we do deep belly breathing, or even if you're sitting in the office or driving, just make sure that you're breathing down into your belly. And if you're breathing down into your belly, it's going to switch you into rest and digest, which means that your body is able to calm down, soothe your nervous system, and get rid of some of those stress hormones. So just, things like that, they're small things, but they really will make the difference and then help you cope long term. So for more health and wellness tips, you can always head to the app, into the wellness area, and on there are things like guided meditations, guided breathing techniques, videos on how to cope with stress, and lots more, so do check that out.